Hello. How is everyone doing? We're here today to talk about several things, but they're all tied together, and it's really around the police headquarters and a decision that has been made about the police headquarters, how it's going to function, how it operates, its location, and we'll talk about that, and we'll also talk about the economic impact of that, and the location of it, and then we'll talk about how that ties into all the other initiatives that we're doing. So this is not just an investment, a public investment in isolated in one project. This is really about following through on a strategic plan for the positioning Cleveland for the future, redevelopment of distressed areas of the city of Cleveland, and causing economic investment, economic growth, and job creation. That's the context of this, all centered around a police headquarters at this time. So I'll have the people here today to talk to you, starting with Director Collins to introduce himself and what are you in charge with the City of Cleveland?
Sure. My name is Freddie Collier. I'm the Director of City Planning for the City of Cleveland. And the Planning Department is responsible for setting the direction for the overall growth and development of the city, and also focusing on the utilization of our land resources for the benefit of the community.
Now, you're currently involved in, we had the 2020 plan, and that was developed some years back, and now you're developing the 2030 plan?
Yes, so one of the responsibilities that we have, Mayor, is to make sure that we do a comprehensive plan for the city. And that's sort of the playbook that allows us to make certain development decisions.
So that's the blueprint for the city.
That's correct.
That can be tweaked depending on what's happening.
Oh, absolutely. But you need that guidance.
Right.
So every decade or so, we re-up and we do another comprehensive plan to move us forward along into the future. So we're going to be gearing up after next year, because Connecting Cleveland 2020, which is our current comprehensive plan, is going to reach its horizon next year.
Okay.
So after that, we're going to start to look probably 15 to even 20 years into the future.
And when you do that, you're looking at how do we position Cleveland for that future as to where the world is going.
Absolutely.
And how do we position it not only in terms of the vision, but some tools, whether it's form-based zoning and things like that, and a lot of that has to do with the opportunities that exist now, and how do we build off those opportunities.
That's absolutely right.
Okay.
And making sure that the resources that we have are not working at cross purposes.
Right. So you have to have a strategic plan.
You have to.
And for those who believe that the city of Cleveland is just doing things helter-skelter, Director Collier's job is to help ensure that does not happen. And as we go along in this discussion, you can see how the new police headquarters fits into this comprehensive strategy on positioning the city of Cleveland for the future, and having it done in a way that really brings economic growth and prosperity in an equitable way in the city of Cleveland. Mr. Ebersol, Director of Economic Development.
Yep, my name's David Ebersol. I'm the Director of Economic Development, and the job of Director of Economic Development, the Economic Development Department, is to work with businesses to direct investments in creation of job growth and to basically stimulate the economy of Cleveland.
And we're doing that in a way that is just not following an old way of doing things. We're actually attempting to do that in a way that provides incentives, not just supporting people because they need some money or to fill in the gap, but we're actually providing incentives and saying we will assist you if what?
Yeah, if we're looking for assistance in jobs and for create businesses that work in an equitable way, and it so it aligns with what Director Collier was talking about. And so we're not just looking at filling the gaps, but at other sources and other goals as well. So bringing back land that was abandoned, reused brownfields, getting jobs that are not just jobs, but are good jobs, that are well-paying, that are opportunities for people up and down the education and background spectrum. And so we're trying to think holistically about the investments we're making, not just one-offs, one at a time.
And you also work with partners, whether it's the county or the state. You mentioned brownfields. Remediation of environmentally contaminated land could be millions of dollars depending on what the property is. And so we would have development here but for, right? And so how does that work?
Right, so on brownfield sites, for example, you're right, there could be millions of dollars of investment, there's lots of unknowns, and so it's a process of working with the county, the state, and the development community themselves, and trying to layer in all of our different resources and work together to make something happen on a site that you would look at and you'd say there's no way.
And the reason we would say there's no way, because in the past we were economy based on heavy industry, manufacturing, and a lot of that has gone away, but the facilities remain. They have environmental problems. Even when we tear down the buildings, the ground has environmental problems. And now we have this opportunity corridor. In this opportunity corridor, you work with Director Collier on that, and it connects I-490 with 105 in Quincy.
Right.
And it goes through what we would consider to be some of the most distressed areas of the city of Cleveland, and much of the opportunity for development is on brownfield contaminated property. So that's the importance of having that connection with the state to receive money to help us remediate that for development opportunity.
Yeah, that's right. We've got all this land that we're looking to develop, that we're looking to.
And this is quite a few acres.
Hundreds of acres of
acres.
development property that can come online. Mm-hmm. And the thought is that we've got this great road investment. It is the connection from anywhere in Cleveland to anywhere in Cleveland. And so we've got the land, we've got great connections, we've got great infrastructure. So let's make it into an opportunity for jobs and investment.
And it's not a freeway, it's a boulevard.
Right.
And now in that mix, we've identified a space along the opportunity corridor for the new police headquarters. And so, Chief, I know that you're at the Justice Center. It's even though it was built, I think, in the 70s, it's pretty antiquated. Yes. And its functionality just doesn't work in terms of just the efficiency of the flow of your operation, technology, all these things. And you have some new initiatives that you're working on that you want to incorporate, like the RealTime Crime Center, and building a new facility helps you not only to have a state-of-the-art facility that functions in a way operationally that you need, and having the people that you need there, but also gives you the ability to use the tools of the future in a way that would help you not only fight crime, but resolve cases, whether they're anywhere from homicides or sexual cases or robberies or whatever that may be, and housing your partners to help you do this. So why don't you give us a little outline of that?
Well, thanks, Mayor, and you kind of set the stage for it. A new facility gives us the ability to have what we believe to be a better setting for policing in the city. Excuse me. It allows for a campus-like atmosphere. It allows us to basically bring a lot of our resources that are kind of spread out throughout the city into one location. It allows what we believe to be a better community fit. It's actually out in the neighborhood, one of our neighborhoods, and not centralized downtown like we are now. It allows the division to look forward to a 21st century policing model. As far as investigations, as far as partnerships with our state, federal, and local partners, and a lot of our nonprofit partners.
Well, why don't you elaborate a little bit on who would be in this building and how would it function in this sense?
Well, there is, most folks will remember, we started this venture a couple years ago with the building that we identified on Superior Avenue, and that didn't work. But the people that were going to be in that building are the same folks that are going to be in the new building, our FBI partners. Cleveland has what's called the Northeast Ohio Regional Fusion Center, which is an intelligence gathering information center for counterterrorism. We work with our state, federal, and local partners in that degree. It's also centered around crime detection and sharing that intelligence throughout the 5 counties in Region 2 in the state of Ohio. The Fusion Center is now headquartered within the police headquarters building downtown, and that facility is actually going to move to our new building. You spoke about our RealTime Crime Center. We just opened it in October, and it's just getting its legs. So the RealTime Crime Center will be an integral part of the new facility.
And how does that function?
The RealTime Crime Center is what we call operational case support for our detectives and officers out there on the scene. For example, if we have a critical incident that happens, a shooting, a homicide, or any other violent crime, the RealTime Crime Center detectives, analysts, and officers actually get up on a lot of different platforms to be able to feed information directly to those investigators on the ground, real time. The investigators don't have to go out, take information, look at certain things, come back to their office, and then do searches.
With your forensic.
Oh, definitely.
If there's camera feeds, then they can get that.
They get that stuff ahead of time, so those detectives can actually spend more time on the scene conversing with the folks that may have information. And then a lot of that analytical stuff, a lot of the forensics as far as cameras, evidence, that can be prepared and waiting for that detective when they get back to their office.
And they will work with the Fusion Center and work with the Northeast Ohio,
They'll work with the Fusion Center, they'll work with our state and federal partners, the FBI, the County Sheriff's Office. We have the City of Cleveland Division of Police has membership on 12 different federal task forces within the City of Cleveland. They'll work with all those groups together to get whatever information is needed for us to solve those cases more timely.
What you're saying is that there will be information that you could have used to solve a crime that under the current way of doing things, you may miss that.
Or you may have to wait a longer period of time to actually
So what
get
this
that.
does, it creates a way you get real-time, simultaneous information, and so you can connect dots much easier.
And get it to those investigators, those officers right away, so that maybe even on scene, there's something that they're taking a look at and they don't have a chance to actually go to a computer and search it. Our analysts in the RealTime Crime Center can do that for them and say, hey, you may want to go look at this address because there's a camera on the front porch, and we've had calls for service there in the past, and that may be a link to the crime that you are investigating right now.
Now, you mentioned the 3 operations, but that's nowhere near what really is going to be going on.
It's the entire totality of the Cleveland Division of Police, absent the 5 policing districts and the mounted unit.
And so that would be like what, homicide?
That would be our homicide unit, all of our specialty units, homicide, SWAT, narcotics, sex crimes, gang impact, our financial crimes unit, all of our logistics as far as our vehicle maintenance and things like that. All of our units that take care of our officers, our human resources units, that our academy, our training section, our academy, our gymnasium. We actually want to incorporate more of a campus feel so that we can invite outside partners, outside agencies, be it law enforcement or nonprofit or other non-government agencies, to actually participate in training on that campus.
So how many police officers, now we're not talking about civilians, but how many police officers do you think will be in this facility once completed?
There'll be upwards of 600 to 700 officers actually in that facility once it's finished. And as the division grows, as we've talked about in the past, then those numbers will increase, and we're building a facility that can handle that growth into the future to make sure that we keep up with trends, to make sure on the technology side that we build in things now that are going to be standard in the future. 5, 10, 15 years from now. Our IT department is actually going to have an office in that building. The city's public safety IT are actually going to partner with us in the building itself and run some of their operations out of the building, not just to support that campus, but to support other functions around the city.
And so you will have that, and every district will remain.
Yes.
Every district headquarters, and so the feeding of information there, and then the sharing of information
Back
going
out to
out
the districts and
out on the street.
Exactly.
And you're saying at least 600 to 700 immediately in terms of police officers, not
Police
counting
officers,
civilians.
and the division has approximately 285 civilians. Most of those civilians actually work out of police headquarters.
Okay.
So we could have close to almost 1,000 people here in the next 5 or 6 years once the building opens.
Now, Director Ebersol, when this is along the Opportunity Corridor, what I'm going to ask you is, what is the major concern of investors and developers and people who companies who would take the opportunity to invest in all this hundreds of acres of land that needs brownfield remediation and to get it ready to go? But there's something that they always ask about. Number one. But before I ask you that, so that people get a sense of where this is and the physical condition of that area. Explain where the Opportunity Corridor begins, it ends, and if you traverse it, where along that will this headquarters be?
Sure. So the Opportunity Corridor is literally from the terminus of 490
At 55th.
and 55th Street, and it takes you in a northeasterly direction up into East 105th and Quincy. Mm-hmm. That funnels you into University Circle into the Glenville neighborhood.
All right, so the phase one, if I'm not mistaken, was 105 and Quincy out to...
All the way down to East 93rd Street. So you have 105, the second phase is up to 93rd Street, and then the third phase is from 93rd to 55th, which is underway right now.
And that is, this third phase is where the police headquarters would be?
Correct, and that's going to be the longest phase of the corridor.
And the what would be like a landmark or point of reference for people to understand where that is?
So Orlando Baking Company is a mainstay in the neighborhood. This will be just west of Orlando Baking
And
Company.
Orlando is at 75th and Rollins?
So you have 79th
79th.
on one side, and then you have 75th on the other, and then you have the Opportunity Corridor, which will be running right in front of the Orlando Baking Company.
And the police headquarters would be right across the street from
It'll
that.
be to the west, right
To the
across
west.
the street of 75th.
All right. And now describe the rest of the geography out there. At one time, it was a heavy industrial area and with residential and industry, commercial, but now it's pretty desolate, I imagine.
Yeah, so just to give you some historical context, there was a thriving neighborhood there before. You had actually an automobile plant many, many years ago in that geography. Of course, over time, decades ago, yeah, over time, as the environment changed, sprawl happens and other sort of urban issues happen. The area became, desolate, empty, vacant. But you did have some residential fabric still there. Unfortunately, they were some of the most economically challenged individuals in our city. Some individuals saw that as an opportunity to, get people from one side of the city to the next in a very expeditious way. But we at the city, had worked very hard over a number of years to ensure that this did not become what many
you're
envisioned.
talking about is the road. So
Correct.
there were people who wanted to say that create a highway from 55th to 105 in
get
Quincy.
into University Circle.
Right, to get in University Circle. We said no. We would support this only if it was more of a road, like a boulevard, and if it provided the opportunity for economic growth and prosperity.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yep.
Job creation.
And job creation, which is what's happening now in this current environment. The other piece of this that I think is very important is the fact that this road now links to the neighborhoods. In some earlier iterations, there were these cul-de-sacs where literally all you had was an at-grade highway if you cut off the neighborhoods.
Right.
You know, so thanks to a lot of work of yourself and the administration, you know, we were able to ensure that those linkages to the neighborhoods were made.
Right, now, when you say linkage to the neighborhoods, we're also, again, we're talking about an area where there's acres and acres and acres and acres of vacant land.
Yes, vacant and formerly contaminated until we intervened
Except
again.
for those residential portions that is not contaminated.
Correct.
And that leads me, Mr. Eversole, to the question I was outlining to you. So we have this road that is now, we believe, actually does create an opportunity. It's not a highway. We have significant public investment beyond the road. The road itself is 300-something million. We have a significant public investment in the police headquarters that would be tens of millions. And so, and we have this great opportunity with all this vacant land for somebody to come and business to locate, create jobs and all this stuff. But what is their concern?
Well, Mayor, I think the concern is that there's all this vacant land, and the vacant land in and of itself is what their developers look at, and they say, oh, there's no there, and they wonder, is it safe? Is it who's going to be the first person to develop there? And so by making this investment, we're really leading from the public sector side, and we're answering a couple of those questions and saying, we're bringing 1,000 people working into this neighborhood. We're showing that you can build here, and we're bringing a substantial police presence to solve the safety question. And so by making this investment, we're really taking, I think, a big step to stimulate private sector development interest.
So basically what you're saying to me is that we're in first with the public sector, and we're making significant investment, and that investment is just not short-term, it's long-term, because police headquarters is going to be for decades. And we're also bringing to bear in that area what people are concerned about when they look at where they want to live, work, play, and do business, public safety.
Exactly.
And you believe that in and of itself will cause some people who may be thinking about this to make a decision?
Yeah, it takes away, when developers and business interests are looking to do something, they start off by thinking all the reasons not to. And so you take a couple of not tos off the platform, and then people get to yes.
And a major not to is?
Safety.
Safety. And another major not to is, I don't want to be out there by myself.
That's right.
Orlando is there, Orlando
Yes.
Bakery, and my understanding is that we do have a couple of other people who were interested in locating along the Opportunity Corridor, but their concern was what would be the police presence and what would be the safety concern. And you believe that this will help them to make that decision to be at the Opportunity Corridor, bring jobs, bring investment, bring development, and in a sense, take away the two major concerns that people have.
You're taking away a lot of the concerns, you're taking away the perceived risk, and so you're making the developments that much easier to say yes to.
Okay. So, Chief, you have anything else to add on your headquarters?
Well, on the safety front, Mayor, we're actually looking with our campus site to actually maybe incorporate or maybe lease part of that space to a private company, be it a restaurant or a drugstore or something like that, to actually have people feel safer in visiting those businesses. It would definitely be one of the safest places in the city if they would actually either lease one of our buildings, our outbuildings, or a portion of that land that's right there with the police headquarters for, say, a restaurant or something like that. We looked at that same kind of aspect over on Superior because they already had a restaurant there, to actually keep that a public-facing restaurant, not just for police officers, but for the public in that neighborhood and people that traverse the corridor.
Okay. Director Carl, you want to add something?
Yeah, I do. You know, one of the key things that is going to be telling with respect to not just where we invest, but how we invest. So the design of that facility is going to have to be very special and significant. It
sets the tone.
It sets the tone. And I'm intrigued by your reference to the prospect of a tenant on the site. You know, when you think about police headquarters, FBI headquarters, they typically have a fortress feel. A lot of investment, but it doesn't feel like, from the public perspective, it's your building.
And that's not the intent. As a matter of fact, you're talking about putting a community room in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Our intent is to, as you remember from the prior site selection on Superior, an actual community room open for anybody that want to use it, much like what we do with our current 3rd District on Chester. We actually had talked to some folks about either a Head Start classroom, one classroom, or even a daycare type facility within that police headquarters building or within that campus. But definitely, you know, our goal is to have it an inviting community space for everybody, not just for police
community
headquarters.
asset.
Exactly.
Go ahead, Mr. Collins.
Yes, I think that's what it has to be. You know, I think if the right design is there, then I think it will pay dividends, you know, well into the future, and do what David Eversole, Director Eversole, had indicated, which is really to create a sense of confidence, you know, with respect to the marketplace.
And Director Eversole.
This is, I think, a great example of how the public sector can lead and solve development challenges for the private sector.
And then finally, for me, as I say, we don't do things helter-skelter. We do things in a very strategic way. And that strategic way is always leading to how do we position the city of Cleveland for the future, where the world is going, and then how do we create opportunities, not only in terms for investments and job growth, but also opportunities for us to leverage that to ensure a better equitable outcome and eliminating the disparities of life that our current system kind of functions on. And we want to, and we believe that this based on what 3 gentlemen have said, moves us along that strategic path of positioning Cleveland for the future, having job growth, investment growth, and economic development growth, at the same time doing it in a way and in an area of the city that will create equity and ensure that those surrounding neighborhoods have a better outcome. And I'll leave this for further discussion, but we have the Opportunity Corridor, but we have the neighborhood initiatives, and we have a lot of other things that come together in this area that's really about the future of the city of Cleveland. So again, thank you, gentlemen, for coming in, and I hope we've communicated to you well enough for you to have a better understanding of how this one thing is part of an overall initiative, is part of an overall strategy for the future of this city and the people of this city to have a better quality of life and sharing prosperity. So thank you very much.
Slow down.
Slow down and move over.
And move over. When you see lights,
vests,
Or reflectors.
please give us some room. Slow down and move over.
when you need us.
We've got your back.
Do you have ours?
You got our back?
You got ours? You got our back?
Please, slow down.
And move over.